There was a time when smoking cigarettes was thought to be good for you, when it was considered cool or trendy, even sexy. Public health has come a long way since then. Nowadays, nicotine is tightly regulated and taxed. Currently, Colorado has the 39th lowest tobacco tax in the country. Proposition EE would gradually but significantly raise that. On the ballot for this Denver 7 Election 360, supporters of the initiative, opponents, an economist, and a policy expert. Proposition EE does three main things. It raises taxes on nicotine products, it applies that tax to vaping products, and it sets a price floor. Right now, cigarettes are taxed at 84 cents a pack. Under the proposal, that would go up to $2.64 by 2027. The price floor for cigarettes would be $7 per pack next year and $7.50 by 2024. It would be the same rules for vaping products, increasing those taxes to 62% by 2027. Supporters of Prop EE say it's a win-win.
This is just going to ensure that the reduction in consumption that we expect to see, we actually will see.
And it will raise money for education during a difficult time with COVID.
Funding in Colorado for preschool, we're one of the lowest in the country. Having this kind of ongoing funding stream, again, will help mediate the expense and increase access.
Proceeds from the tax will go more so to K-12 for the first 2 years and then pre-K after that.
It would help reduce learning gaps, opportunity gaps.
Funding will also be used for housing, healthcare, and tobacco education programs, among other things.
This is an epidemic of kids.
Dr. Robin Dieterding from Children's Hospital Colorado
We've seen cases of life-threatening lung issues.
is hoping this will help cut down on teen vaping rates.
29% of high school kids are vaping in Colorado. That is an enormous number. We know kids are tremendously price sensitive, and right now vaping's not taxed at all. If you will, it could drive kids to vape more.
Beyond that,
This measure would invest about $110 million in new dollars in cessation, education around smoking and vaping.
on a billboard overlooking 6th and Santa Fe in Denver, critics of Prop EE are making their opinions known.
Proposition EE is a $294 million tax increase at a time when Coloradans can least afford it.
They say Colorado's education funding has been in trouble for years, and this isn't the answer.
Over and over again, we hear from Coloradans that they don't think we have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem.
Proposition EE was passed by state lawmakers in the final days of a chaotic 2020 session. Altria Group, which owns Marlboro and other big tobacco brands, was involved in the discussions. And critics say the price floor idea was a move to kill competition.
Big Tobacco is forcing discount cigarette manufacturers to sell at the same price.
Vape shops are also worried.
That tax rate is larger than the profit margins of these small businesses.
The Rocky Mountain Smoke-Free Alliance represents hundreds of small vape shops across Colorado. Amanda Wheeler believes this ballot initiative can backfire.
For local businesses to absorb, to go from a 0% tax, beyond sales tax, to what is eventually going to end up at a 62% tax, that's a huge leap for a particularly small business.
We're going to be looking at $26 to $28.
This might mean the end of half the locally owned businesses here in Colorado.
And those who use vaping to quit smoking worry higher prices might hurt cessation efforts. Others disagree.
In general, tobacco taxes are the most effective way we have of persuading people to quit, who want to quit, but need another nudge.
Dr. Arnold Levinson is a professor at the Colorado School of Public Health. He says research shows
For every 10% increase in the price in tobacco, about 2% of smokers will quit. And more of those smokers will be low income than other income.
the last time the state raised the tobacco tax in 2004, Colorado saw a 5% drop in cigarette consumption compared to the previous 15 years.
The bigger the shock of a price increase, the more people will say, whoa, okay, that's it. This is going to help me. I'm done.
He's projecting this so-called sin tax will motivate 30,000 smokers to quit. While the tax could cause some to drop the habit, for those who are severely addicted,
they're not going to quit.
That's economist Dr. Dahlia Remler, who wrote a study on the impacts of these taxes on low-income users.
Cigarette smoking is heavily concentrated among poorer people. 32% of adults in households with incomes below the poverty line smoke.
She says while there are certainly health and economic benefits,
to the extent they don't quit, you're adding a lot of hardship. Financial hardship to their families, to their children.
So she asks voters to consider the bigger picture.
You don't just want to think about cigarette and other tobacco taxes in isolation. You want to think about them in the context of all the taxes and what's happening in the market naturally.
In recent elections, state tax increases have not been particularly popular among Colorado voters. Proposition EE is expected to raise $177 million next year alone, but it will cost the average smoker $222. So it will be up to voters to weigh the costs and benefits of this initiative. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.